This timeline tracks Windows 10's lifespan, highlighting a fast-approaching reality. In October 2025, Microsoft puts a hard stop on security updates. Moving to Windows 11 requires clearing a specific hardware hurdle, a security module called TPM 2.0. If your processor is more than a few years old, you likely don't have that module. Right now, millions of completely functional laptops and desktops are sitting on desks, working perfectly, but cannot legally cross that line. This forces a very expensive decision. You either throw out hardware that works to buy new machines, or you find a completely different operating system to keep your current devices safe online. By Microsoft standards, these computers are mathematically obsolete. The hardware works, but the software dictates it's time to move on. Following that forced upgrade path means old hardware usually ends up in landfills. Discarding perfectly functional electronics creates a massive volume of toxic e-waste. Beyond the environmental toll, the logistics are brutal. Replacing an entire fleet of computers all at once is a financial nightmare for schools and businesses. This is the exact scenario ChromeOS Flex was built to solve. It is a zero-cost software life raft, engineered by Google specifically for aging PCs and Macs. The baseline requirements are incredibly low. Just 4 GB of RAM, 16 GB of storage space, and it can run Flex. Instead of fixing a hardware problem by buying more hardware, Flex solves it with a targeted software intervention. This diagram compares standard layouts to ChromeOS Flex. Flex locks its core system into a strictly read-only partition. Malware physically cannot alter these files. Furthermore, Flex utilizes sandboxing. Every web tab runs in an isolated sandbox. If compromised, the threat is permanently trapped. This zero-trust architecture is entirely different from the Windows model, which relies on a constant stream of third-party antivirus definitions and disruptive security patches. But here is the trade-off. Locking the system down this tightly breaks your ability to run native Windows executables. You cannot install standard .exe files on this system. Achieving a zero-maintenance, highly secure device requires you to permanently sacrifice traditional desktop software. If you've used a Windows machine for a few years, you know the performance slowly degrades. The registry gets bloated, draining your processor. This chart shows performance recovery on older hardware. By stripping away legacy bloat, a machine running Flex typically boots in under 10 seconds and consumes 19% less energy. For IT professionals managing these fleets, the Google Admin Console replaces complex network management tools. From a single web interface, administrators can remotely push security policies, load Wi-Fi credentials, and lock fleets onto long-term support so users aren't disrupted by sudden interface changes. The software itself is free. If an organization wants those centralized management features, the cost of a Chrome Enterprise upgrade license is a fraction of what they would spend purchasing new physical laptops. Flex takes isolated, slow, and aging hardware and binds it into a unified, highly efficient fleet. Because you install Flex on standard PC hardware using a standard UEFI boot system, rather than the proprietary security chips found inside a retail Chromebook, Google restricts certain features. The most critical limitation to understand is mobile apps. ChromeOS Flex cannot run Android applications from the Google Play Store. Your software options are strictly limited to web apps, progressive web apps, and for developers, isolated Linux environments. Flex is a dedicated, fast portal for the cloud and the web. It is not a hybrid mobile desktop operating system, and you shouldn't install it expecting it to be one. This decision tree maps user scenarios to evaluate options. It starts with your primary use case. If you manage a fleet for a school or business, the low licensing cost and administrative control make installing Flex an easy yes. If you are a casual user on a budget and your daily workflow consists entirely of web browsing and cloud documents, installing Flex will make your old laptop feel significantly faster. However, if you are a power user, or if you rely on legacy offline software, like dedicated accounting suites or heavy local media editing tools, Flex is a definitive no. You will need to invest in new hardware for Windows 11. A successful operating system is entirely dependent on matching the reality of your specific workflow to the capabilities of the software. Still on the fence? ChromeOS Flex offers a completely risk-free trial mode using a live USB. Boot directly from the flash drive to run the entire operating system in memory without touching a single file on your existing Windows hard drive. This lets you spend an afternoon verifying that your specific hardware is compatible. You can check your Wi-Fi, your audio drivers, and your trackpad, ensuring everything works perfectly before you commit. It takes about 15 minutes to test. As October 2025 approaches, it is the safest, most practical bridge for the hardware Microsoft left behind.